A hotel room that costs you $150 per night generates about $57 in gross operating profit. That sounds reasonable until you layer in debt. Service on the building, management fees, brand franchise fees, insurance, and property taxes. After all of that, the same room produces around $12 in actual net profit for the ownership entity. Hotels are not the cash machines they appear to be from the outside, and the gap between the room rate on the door and the money that remains at the end of the night is one of the most misunderstood figures in the hospitality business. Here is exactly how the money flows in and out of a hotel room every night. The hotel industry measures room performance using revenue per available room, or RevPAR. In the United States, the average hotel RevPAR was just over $102 in 2025, which means the average available room, whether it was occupied that night or not, generated $102 in revenue. That figure accounts for both occupied rooms generating full rate and empty rooms generating nothing, blended together across the entire inventory. The national average occupancy rate runs at around 63%, so the average occupied room rate, called the average daily rate, or ADR, is closer to $162 per night. A luxury hotel in a gateway city like New York or Miami might run an ADR of $500 to $800 with 90% occupancy. A roadside limited service property in a secondary market might run an ADR of $95 at 58% occupancy. Both properties use the same RevPAR metric to compare performance against their local competitive set, which is how hotel operators know whether they are capturing their fair share of the market or losing ground to comparable properties. Labor is the largest single cost in any hotel, and the one that has grown fastest in recent years. Hotel operators paid 22% more for labor in 2024 than they did in 2019, while getting 7% fewer worked hours in return due to post-pandemic staffing shifts and productivity changes. For a full-service hotel with restaurants, event facilities, and a spa, labor accounts for 35 to 40% of total revenue. Add housekeeping supplies, utilities, food and beverage cost of goods, maintenance and engineering labor, front desk and concierge staffing, marketing, and the daily operational cost of running a large commercial property open 24 hours, and total operating expenses consume roughly 60 to 65% of total revenue. What remains after subtracting these direct operating costs is called the gross operating profit, commonly abbreviated as GOP. In the first 9 months of 2025, the average U.S. hotel GOP margin ran at 37.7%. On a $150 room rate, approximately $57 remained after meeting the daily costs of running the hotel. That $57 is what the industry celebrates when it discusses hotel margins. It is not the bottom line. The GOP figure is where most outside analysis stops. Hotel owners cannot stop there. Below the gross operating profit line sit several layers of fixed costs that strip away a significant portion of what remains. Management fees paid to operators like Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, or IHG to run the property and manage the staff typically run 3 to 4% of total revenue, amounting to roughly $5 to $7 per occupied room per night. Brand franchise fees for the right to fly a Marriott or Hilton flag add another 2 to 5% of room revenue in royalties, reservation system access fees, and loyalty program costs. Property taxes on a significant hotel in a major urban market can run tens of millions of dollars per year, in some cases costing more per year than the entire labor budget of a smaller property. Insurance for a hotel, including property, liability, and business interruption coverage, adds further. A capital reserve fund, money set aside for ongoing renovations and equipment replacement, typically 4 to 5% of revenue, ensures the property does not degrade. Strip all of these below-the-line obligations away from the GOP, and what the industry calls net operating income lands at 15 to 20% of total revenue on a stabilized, efficiently operated property in a healthy market. Most hotels are purchased or developed using substantial debt financing. A 300-room full-service hotel in a major city typically carries $150 to $250 million in acquisition or development cost, of which 60 to 70% is commonly financed through commercial real estate loans. At current commercial lending rates, the annual debt service on a loan of that size consumes a large portion of the net operating income. This is why hotel ownership economics vary so dramatically depending on when and how a property was purchased. A hotel owned outright by a family group with no debt attached can generate a comfortable 15% net return on equity at the same occupancy rate where a recently acquired, aggressively leveraged hotel under a private equity buyout barely covers its debt payments. Leverage is the single most powerful variable in hotel ownership, magnifying gains in good markets and converting modest occupancy declines into cash flow crises in bad ones. When every layer of cost is stacked together, direct operating expenses, management fees, brand royalties, property taxes, insurance, capital reserves, and debt service, the actual cash return for a typical hotel investment runs between 6 and 10% of total property value in a healthy market. In practical terms, that $150 room night ends up generating somewhere between $9 and $15 in after-debt cash flow for the ownership group. Limited service hotels without food and beverage operations run the tightest cost structures and generally produce the best risk-adjusted margins because they carry fewer fixed costs and lower labor intensity. Full-service hotels with restaurants, spas, conference centers, and valet parking carry higher revenue potential but dramatically higher fixed costs that make them acutely sensitive to occupancy drops. A full-service hotel typically needs 65 to 70% occupancy just to break even on all obligations including debt. When occupancy falls below 50%, as it did industry-wide during 2020, losses accumulate rapidly because almost none of the cost structure disappears simply because the rooms are empty. A hotel room is a perishable product. An empty room tonight cannot be sold again tomorrow. That fundamental reality, combined with the fixed cost base of operating a commercial building around the clock, is what makes hotel profitability so sensitive to occupancy and so different from what the rate on the door suggests at first glance.